You are currently being recorded.
Investigators allege 2 suspects broke into a home and say a man with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound was taken to hospital but is now in stable condition.
A group of masked intruders broke into a townhouse in this Richmond Hill neighborhood, and we're learning the homeowners were dragged out of bed at gunpoint. One uses an arm to try to cover the security camera, and after just a few powerful kicks, the front door busts wide open. Police say 5 suspects entered the home. One was carrying a hammer, another was armed with a gun, and they went directly to a bedroom demanding cash from the homeowners.
My 5-year-old daughter opens her door, and she comes out of her room in her nightgown, just like rubbing her eyes, and this guy takes the gun off of me and puts the gun right up to her head. It was kind of the most desperate, helpless feeling I've ever had.
Why does it seem like these lame-ass liberals want you to lay down while intruders run off with your loot? The current laws set in place in Canada have Canadians feeling like their safety is compromised. Nah, for real, fam, it feels like Canada is the only country where you could be condemned for having common sense. Now, post-COVID, it's no secret that there's been a trend of break and enters happening in Canada, you know what I mean? All over Canada, there's been home invasions happening. But recently, there's been a trend of Canadians standing up for themselves and being penalized. Imagine being arrested for protecting your wife and kids in your own home. Yes, people, Canada has failed once again. Canada has failed to prioritize the people. In this video, we're going to react to some home invasions, some home invasion victims. What can you do to prevent home invasions? And is self-defense even legal in Canada? What can you do to defend yourself in Canada? Before we get into this reaction, I want you guys to check out a TikTok I made. It's about the Alberta Premier that made some comments that some people may perceive as insensitive, but some people may perceive it as being on the right track or on point. But you guys can leave it in the comments to what you think about this situation. Bam, the Canadian system is a setup. They don't want you to fight for your freedom. They want you to fold under pressure like a panty. Ontario man accused of using a knife to attack home invader. Brother, how do you attack somebody who's invading your house? That's called self-defense. These politicians are pushing people into poverty while enforcing these idiotic laws. That's all it's doing is leaving the taxpayers at a loss. Finally, this Alberta Premier, one of these politicians finally stood up and said something that made some goddamn sense out here, and she's facing criticism.
The man is now facing criminal charges for defending himself from a home intruder. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Well, if you don't want to get shot or beaten up, don't break into people's houses. Pretty straightforward.
Now, this is the type of prime minister we need. Like, what's going on out here? These female politicians have more balls than the men. I'm convinced Canada is the only place where it will be condemned for common sense. I can't make this shit up, bro. Make it make sense. You know what else doesn't make sense? TikTok doesn't pay in Canada. That's why I post more on YouTube. Hit that link and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's get straight into these traumatic home invasions now and these traumatized victims.
A quiet neighborhood in shock and a family shaken.
I'm scared. I'm very scared. My husband gets shot and the bullet at the back come through to the neck. But the bullet comes straight out in the house.
She says she was sleeping upstairs in her room when she woke up to a loud bang from outside at the back door. Her husband ran down to see what happened, and that's when he was shot.
And my son was standing like this. Or if he didn't move, the bullet would go straight to his eye.
Peel Regional Police say they arrived at Springview Drive and Silkwood Crescent around 12:30 last night following a report of a suspicious person. Investigators allege 2 suspects broke into a home and say a man with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound was taken to hospital but is now in stable condition. Suku says the suspects didn't steal or demand anything, but this isn't the first time the house has been broken into. Last month, she says, a tenant downstairs was assaulted during a break-in.
1 month ago, they come in the house, they pick 4 shoes and they run. They go to the guy downstairs and say, give me the bag with the money. I don't know.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. They're hitting houses multiple times. And you know, this is not the first time I've heard of something like this, of people spinning back at hitting houses multiple times. But do you think it's suspicious that they're hitting houses multiple times? Or do you think it's a coincidence and that BNEs are just the crime of choice right now? So it's just a coincidence, like houses are getting hit twice. It could be 2 different criminals. They're just hitting the same house twice. Do you think it's that? Or do you think it might be suspicious activity and that's why they're getting hit so much? Certain houses are getting hit so much times.
I do not know. And they hit the guy with a gun now.
In a statement, Peel Police said, "We cannot comment on any prior police response to the residents in question out of respect for the victim. Additionally, any prior incidents may be linked to the current investigation, and releasing such information may interfere." Neighbors say they're deeply concerned, especially with a gun being involved.
Safety of my kids is very important, so it makes me feel so scared. Like, what is it going to happen in the future? I don't know.
It's scary, you know what I mean? If that can happen to my neighbor, what about me? I'm not that much secure either, especially if I'm raising kids.
I feel like this is a safe neighborhood and stuff like this. If this is a bit crazy.
Peel Police say home invasions are down in the region and that this kind of crime is mostly related to car thefts and are generally rare, but they're encouraging residents to take precautions anyway. That means making sure your doors and locks are secure.
We've seen time and time again with CCTV footage reviewing attempted break-and-enters that if it's too hard to break into, they leave because it's making too much noise and they move on.
We don't do anything to anybody here. Why they come here? Why are they coming here?
So far, no one has been arrested in this latest break-in. Suku says she's considering moving out of the home once her husband is released from hospital. Brittany Blatt, CBC News.
Not long after an armed group allegedly broke into Theo Meadows' Orangeville house.
So he stuck the gun at me through this hole here.
That night, as the armed intruders smashed his window, he called for help.
That was when I called 911 for the first time. And as soon as I put the call through, I got a please hold. It was like a pre-recorded ringtone sort of thing.
Meadows says he tried calling 911 twice more while the intruders were still at his home. Each time, he says, the same hold message. The scariest part, he says, was when his 5-year-old heard the commotion.
As I'm telling them where they can go to the closet to find anything valuable, my 5-year-old daughter opens her door and she comes out of her room in her nightgown, just rubbing her eyes. And this guy takes the gun off of me and puts the gun right up to her head.
4 calls and there's a gun to your daughter's head, or illegally defend your family at any cost. That's the choices in Canada. You pick your decision. What do you pick?
It was kind of the most desperate, helpless feeling I've ever had.
And the guy was standing right about here.
Meadows says it wasn't until his 4th 911 call, after the group had left, that someone answered.
Emergency?
CBC News has reported extensively on 911 wait times in the city of Toronto. Where Meadows lives is patrolled by Ontario Provincial Police, where 911 calls go to 4 call centres province-wide.
In a statement, the OPP said it couldn't comment on this case as it's an active investigation. When it comes to call center staffing...
brother, I know he still has nightmares till this day. A situation like that, oh, brother, this could push somebody over the edge. This could make somebody choose substance abuse, brother. This could make somebody crash out and question God. A situation like this, oh, brother, I can't even make this up, man. Imagine how he feels around his daughter now. He probably feels defenseless around his daughter. His daughter probably feels defenseless around him. You never know, right? He's probably she's probably contemplating, can my daddy save me? And he's probably contemplating, can I save my daughter? You know what I mean? Canada's justice system is broken.
Citing officer and public safety purposes.
But it maintains that of the more than 1 million 911 calls it received last year, 75% were answered within 14 seconds. This advocate says 911 call center staffing remains a problem countrywide.
Public safety communications is having similar problems to most other industries in Canada in that it's difficult to find staff.
Meadows says he's sharing his story to push for changes to the service.
All I know is that on the worst day of my life, it didn't work at all.
A situation he hopes will never happen again. Farah Morali, CBC News.
Man in a fluorescent safety vest. Nothing to see here, right? There's construction all around this North York residential street. But this isn't your everyday contractor.
He knocked loudly at the door and then sort of stood there, and then the UPS driver just happened to deliver a package.
Hey man, how are you? Good.
You know, and the UPS guy says hi to the guy, and the guy says hi back.
He eventually makes his way back down the street to a parked white Hyundai. Then a different man and a woman enter into Michael Sigmund's backyard.
So here we now see them breaking the glass in the back of the window. They're using a special tool that I looked up on Amazon, cost about $18 to buy.
They clear some of the shattered glass and get into the home. Meanwhile, the white getaway car outside has repositioned several times while the burglar spent about 10 minutes upstairs.
Like, fam, growing up, I used to wonder why some people were so paranoid, and this is exactly why. You don't know who you can trust out here, brother. Like, back in the day, I remember if someone was coming to change the fire alarm, my mom would always be like, yo, make sure you hide everything in the house. Make sure you don't have any jewelry laying out. Like, I'm just saying, because, brother, some people have that thing in their brain where they don't trust anybody, and that will save your life. You know what I mean?
Eventually making off with thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, including an engagement ring and family heirlooms.
Very scary. You know, my daughter was very afraid to sleep at night, and still is. You know, and you know, none of us slept the first night. You know, at every little sound, you're like, oh my God, are they coming back? Is there something going on, right? So, so yeah, it's a terrible violation of your personal space.
Toronto police confirmed they are investigating. However, Sigmund says police told him the case was low priority since no one was injured.
The police, we can't count on them to do everything. They just don't have enough power. We as the people need to look out for each other, and otherwise this is just going to spiral further and further down, right?
Year to date in Toronto, break-and-enters are up nearly 20%, but there is a spike in the Willowdale West neighborhood. B&Es are up over 30%, auto thefts a nearly 90% increase, and robberies up over a staggering 1,000%. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, I have this video by a Canadian lawyer. His channel is Cruise Law. Make sure you go subscribe to him. Very good, informative channel. He's going to break down some self-defense laws.
That a Milton, Ontario man whose home was invaded by, I think, at least 3 people, one with a gun, was charged with second-degree murder for shooting one of them in self-defense. And his lawyer claims that the person was basically about to threaten their mother. And it's a bit shocking, of course, that he's charged with second-degree murder, but it's not surprising to me because the police often in this situation will do this, lay a charge, and let the courts or the Crown Attorney sort it out later. But this
Bro, I said it before and I'll say it again. Canada is a place where you're presumed guilty until proven innocent when it comes to self-defense, bro.
This is a really vexing question. You know, you're in your home, you're sound asleep, you're a 110-pound woman or a man, it doesn't matter. Someone breaks into your home, they're a large, powerful man, they have a knife or a gun, what do you do? Well, the police will tell you, well, your adrenaline's going, you're scared, you see this person, what the heck do you do? The police, of course, will tell you, try and get out of the house if you can, and that's obviously the best thing to do. Don't confront the person, get out of the house, phone 911. You know, far better to get your television stolen than you know, get your life taken. So, but what do you do with this situation if you now fear for your life, they're coming at you? Well, in Canada, you're allowed to protect yourself in self-defense. Under Section 34 of the Criminal Code, if you have imminent fear that you're being attacked or about to be attacked or assaulted, you can use reasonable force to protect yourself. And you have to act reasonably. I mean, I'll use some examples, but it's proportional force, okay? So, for example, let me give you one clear example. A person's coming at you with a gun, and you happen to have a gun in your nightstand. Well, you fear that they're about to shoot you, they're threatening you. Well, that seems to me to be reasonable, proportionate force in that situation, obviously. Now, let's say another example, let's say you're a large man, powerful bodybuilder, you're a trained fighter, and some kid breaks in your house and they're not that much of a threat to you and they have no weapon and you just go vicariously beat them up. Well, you're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to remove them from your house using reasonable force. In that situation, you might detain them for the police or whatever. The kid's going to be scared. In between those are a lot of gray areas, and it's a very difficult situation in Canada.
Brother, I can speak from experience when I say these self-defense laws, they're all wishy-washy, you know what I mean? It's based on a lot of different, like, it's so weird because it's like, size matters in self-defense. It doesn't matter, like, if a small person's running at you with a knife and you're way bigger than them, that's gonna play a factor, you know what I mean? That's gonna play a factor because I've been in that situation, you know what I mean? I remember a man was running at me with a sharp object, you know what I mean? I had a blunt in my hand, and the man, I told the man was like threatening me. I'm telling the man, yo, chill out, you know what I mean? It's all on camera too. A man was recording this. It's all on camera. So, long story short, the man kept antagonizing me. I was in a corner. He came up to me. I hit him with the Roy Jones jab. Oh! You know what I mean? He flew back into the wall like some Dragon Ball Z. And then I then proceeded to give him the Blackie Chan chest kick. Boom, you know what I mean? This is all self-defense though, because remember, he has a sharp object in his hand. You know what I mean? I seen what I perceived to be a sharp object in his hand. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna wait till you actually stab me with the sharp object to think, oh shit, I'm stabbed now. You get what I'm saying? So realistically, bro, self-defense, and I got charged for that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I got charged for that. I got charged for that and had to go through a whole bunch of court proceedings, and just to end up getting probation. You know what I mean? Because I was deemed that I used too much force. Because after I gave him the Blackie Chan kick, I took him, I neutralized. I told the judge, listen, I neutralized them there. You know what I mean? And now my lawyer even said, like, I should have been deemed a hero in this situation. I grabbed him out of there now and I threw him out of the lobby. Boom. You know what I mean? And he hit his face on the floor or something. I don't know what happened. He broke a couple teeth. You know what I mean? They're saying it was. But listen. That's not the point. The point is, it was self-defense. You know what I mean? And everybody could see it's self-defense. In Canada, it could be self-defense, and the judge could see it's self-defense, and your lawyer could see it's self-defense. But the laws are already written a certain way, where it's like, if you use too much force, what is too much force? If someone punches you once, if you hit them twice, that could be deemed as too much force. How does equal force make any sense in a case where someone breaks into your house and they're rummaging through your stuff, and you see them from behind and they have a gun? You know what I mean? And they're rummaging through your stuff. You know what I mean? And then they turn back and look at you, and you have a gun. Who's to say? Even if they don't point their gun at you, who's to say? Are you supposed to wait for them to point their gun at you for you to shoot them? You know what I mean? All that stuff is going to be broke down in court, and if you don't have the right lawyer, if you have a legal aid lawyer, you might get cooked. You know what I mean? Depending on the color of your skin, all that stuff matters, plays parts into law. You know what I mean? That's why in these self-defense cases, even sometimes, even if you did the right thing, your lawyer's going to advise you to not say anything. You know what I mean? Because you could say the wrong thing even if you did the right thing.
New laws were brought in about 2012 or 13, redefining our self-defense under Section 34 and protection of property under Section 35, supposedly simplifying the law. But we haven't had, I don't think, enough guidance from the courts as yet to fully articulate a home invasion situation, where the line's going to be drawn in this situation. And I can think of other gray area situations. For example, someone's coming at you with fists in a home where you would be entitled to use a knife on them. You may be. Every situation is going to be different and has to be analyzed. And as I said, I find the police, on many situations where there's a death involved, they're going to analyze it. They have to have reasonable probable grounds to lay a charge, of course, but oftentimes they're just going to lay the charge. There you are, you may be completely innocent, you were mortified, you're just sleeping in your home, and now you're facing secondary murder. Can't imagine how this Milton man, especially if what his lawyer says is true, that this intruder was going after his older mother, for my God, now he's charged with secondary murder, facing a lifetime sentence. So, I mean, I went online and I know the advice, you try and retreat, try and get the heck out, but ultimately if that person's coming at you, you're allowed to use reasonable force, proportional force. That may be in certain situations if you fear for your life. That person's got a gun or a knife. It may be a gun, it may be a knife, it may be using your fists or grappling with the person in other situations. I mean, if a person's just shaking you, you don't take out your gun and shoot them, obviously. But it's a really troubling situation. We don't have enough guidance in Canada on this point, and it's very sensational in the media, there's no question, and I feel quite badly for this person, because you can imagine being woken up in the middle of the night. Even if he made a mistake with the gun, my God, these people broke into his home. What's the answer to that? Well, I'll tell you, the answer in many states is you're allowed to do it. In the States, you've got the castle doctrine. In Texas, my God, don't try and break in Texas, because you'll get shot and the person might go scot-free, obviously, because they've got much more stringent laws. Where's the line here? Well, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, you should be entitled to defend yourself in your home and protect your property. And by the way, this is for self-defense in your home. Defense of property, just because a person's broken into your property and they're not attacking you, you're not allowed to punching and kicking and hitting and stabbing and shooting them. You'd be entitled to use reasonable force to remove them from your property. Let's say you have a trespasser. Now, if that person escalates it, you can escalate your force. If they escalate it so that you're feared for life, you can escalate it. If they escalate to the point of using a knife, well, you might be able to use a gun or a knife on them as well. The other problem with these situations, of course, if you shoot someone in your house, well, how the heck did you have a loaded firearm? You might be facing other charges, because there's mandatory minimums for loaded firearms. And how did you get that? Because bullets are supposed to be stored, and trigger locks, and bullets aren't supposed to be in guns and whatnot. But I know a lot of people who sleep with, law-abiding citizens who'll keep a baseball bat or a golf club near them because they're fearful. And we live, unfortunately, in a society that's going to face this problem. And I think you're going to see more of these cases in the news going forward. We've got a lot of drug addicts, unfortunately, in society, a lot of home invasions. I can't imagine how someone could be so stupid as to break into someone's house at night. My God, don't do that in Texas, because you'll get shot, and that and he'll be shot dead very quick. Don't mess with Texas. But anyway, that in a nutshell is what's going on in Ontario. It's a really gray area. I've just touched on it very lightly. It's very complicated. And ultimately, if this goes to trial on that second-degree murder, there's a lot of factors. All the facts have to be looked at, the role that people played, whether the other person had a gun, whether they were coming at him, whether they were threatening with a gun, whether they were threatening his mother. And that's what's going on there. Now, conversely, there was a knifing in Nova Scotia on a home invasion, and that person wasn't charged. Obviously, the police there thought they were acting in self-defense. So I'm assuming the other invasion person must have been threatening their life, either fists or...
All right, people, I'm gonna leave it there for this one. Make sure you guys hit the like button. You watch the whole video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment under. What do you guys think? Like, do you think Canada's self-defense laws are placed to save the people, to help the people? Or do you think they're placed to help criminals? And do you think you're innocent until proven guilty or guilty until proven innocent in Canada? Do you think Canada condemns common sense? Leave it in the comments. All right, I'm off of this.